Today on Overwatch This, the Halloween update, still no sign of Sombra, and new maps, modes and heroes in the pipeline. Hello and welcome to episode 3. We're still here of Overwatch This.
It's still happening.
It's still happening. I am back. This is of course Joel and I am here with Ben.
Hello everyone.
And there's lots to talk about this week, starting with, of course, yesterday's Halloween update. So, big news this week is the Halloween update, which landed yesterday, and contains quite a lot of stuff, to be honest. And everyone's quite excited, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff in there. There's like new skins, new emotes, new victory poses, kind of everything you'd expect at this point, I would say. It was as large as the summer update. I think it's roughly the same number of skins, roughly the same number of other cosmetics as you'd expect now, basically. And they are really nice as well. They're all really high quality. Honestly, it seems like they've put, I don't want to say more effort, but I think they've kind of worked out maybe since summer.
Say it. You want to say it, don't you?
I think they've worked out since summer exactly how to do skins, like how to make ones that look different but aren't like that aren't just recolors, but aren't super complicated and take ages.
I guess that's
to put
fair
together.
enough, right? The summer update was like the first proper, new batch of all that stuff.
Yeah, they're
really.
clearly still working with stuff
Yeah,
out.
exactly. You're going to kind of learn. Also, Halloween tends to lend itself to this kind of stuff in terms of design, I think. So.
It's a good holiday for dressing up, I'm told.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really do a lot of that over here. But yeah, so there's loads of stuff out there, and they've also made a sort of requested change to the how you can get hold of the new bits and pieces.
Yeah, so back in summer, like kind of the only really controversial thing about it was how you got the skins. The only way to get them, or well, the skins and all the rest of the cosmetics, the only way to get them was to buy boxes. You couldn't get them with currency, which you can with normal stuff. It's usually like 1,000 credits, 1,000 coins, whatever you want to call them.
It really struck me as terribly cheeky and like blatantly cheeky, that as well, because you can't just change the rules for new stuff. I never like that. So,
yeah, their argument was that they wanted them to be rare, which is fair enough, having like super rare skins, but
just
people
make them
were
expensive.
Like,
then.
oh, yeah,
that's fine.
And that's pretty much what they did. So there was kind of what the community had suggested at the time was, hey, okay, you don't want us to be able to get these skins all the time. You don't want us to be able to like save stuff up and buy them all when they come out. So give us like a second currency. And I think Blizzard wanted to avoid that because then you're really getting into
that's
kind of free to play nonsense.
Right? Yeah.
And like, every terrible free to play MMO you've ever played has like 4 different currencies and they all interact and you don't know how it works and it's just to obfuscate how much money you're spending, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they didn't want to do that. So what they've done is basically everything costs 3 times as much.
Sure.
So,
which, as a solution, isn't the worst, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you need
instead
to keep
of
that rarity element, and I suppose just making it expensive is a way to do that.
Yeah. And so instead of, I think if you wanted to like buy everything, like if all of these skins and cosmetics were added in a normal update, they probably altogether cost about 10,000, 15,000. So they cost 3 times that. They cost like 30,000 credits. That's a lot. Like that's a lot of saving up you'd have to do. The really super hardcore players, they will be able to do it, but we're talking like super hardcore players out of an audience of now like 20 million. So the chance of you seeing somebody who's got all the skins they want is quite low, and that's what they said they wanted to avoid, was people just always having everything they want and they're not being like oh man, I wish I had that, or oh man, thank God I got this kind of element to it. So that was a good change. I think if they'd done it exactly the same as they did in summer, whatever I might think about it or you might think about it, I think there would have been a pretty big uproar after the amount of complaints there were last time.
Yeah.
So they definitely had to make a change, and I think the one they made is probably both the easiest and the simplest to understand, and probably the friendliest for players.
Now, there's a few more elements to this, one of which, as with so many things in this wonderful modern world of ours, leaked fairly far in advance of the actual release, which was a lore comic.
Yeah, this showed up last week. I think what happened was there was a Portuguese version showed up on Tumblr, I think, of all places.
Great.
And then that got translated by the community pretty quickly, and then that got uploaded, and so everybody kind of knew what was going to be in it. It's pretty short. It's not as serious as some of the comics have been. It's not like, here's a story about a character that reveals loads of stuff. It's just like, here's what happened on Halloween once, like back in the old days of Overwatch, with a few characters you recognize. And it had some neat callbacks, like we were talking about last week when we were talking about the Halloween skins. They had this photo in the game.
I wasn't there, but I did tune in.
Me too. I was there and I tuned in.
There you go.
They had this picture that was in the Recall cinematic, and it was in the game, of Mercy in her witch skin, which is now in the game, and Torbjorn in a Viking skin, which is oddly not in the game. Presumably they just couldn't get that one to
that
work.
seems odd, doesn't it?
Yeah. so in the comic, you see that photo being taken. It's like, oh, okay, they've linked all that together, and now you know exactly what time period it's in.
Right.
And it's quite a clever way of kind of structuring it so you know what's happening. But other than that, like, there was only kind of one other thing in it, which was there was like a joke made at the very end about Reaper making the costumes for Overwatch.
It's all very sweet, isn't it?
It is. It's
I like
it's
that
hella
about
twee.
Overwatch. It is. It's really twee. But like in this world, we could do with a bit more tweeness and a bit less cynicism. And I like that about. It's a massive behemoth of a game played competitively. It's like a burgeoning esport, and yet it's still quite sweet and twee.
Yeah,
I really like it.
It's a really well put together thing in that way. Like everything about Overwatch is super hopeful, and honestly, I think we could use some of that in the world at the moment.
That. Certainly today, for anyone not in the UK, it was the Games Media Awards last night. So if the quality's dipped very slightly, it's because we're rather tired.
Very tired.
Very tired. There's a new Brawl as well, which is out there now, and we've been getting a bit involved with. Tell us about the new Brawl. Give us the deets.
Yeah, so if you want to see exactly what it's like, you can head to the PC Games N YouTube channel, which you're currently on.
We're currently on, but yes, we've got
go back
videos
to the channel, and there is a video of it. It's about 10 minutes long, and basically the Brawl is a PvE horde mode, which that's not the most original thing in the world.
No.
I'm okay with saying that. It's very similar to TF2's Man vs. Machine mode that they made, must have been like 5 years plus now ago. Basically, you pick 4 heroes, and you have to defend a point from Zomnix.
Sure.
Which is Zombie Omnix.
Yeah, great.
Very good stuff.
Well done, guys.
And Dr. Junkenstein.
Late night was it from that one?
And Dr. Junkenstein's monster, who are Junkrat and Roadhog, obviously. And also various other heroes show up at points, and those form the bosses. So you're kind of doing this wave defense thing, and then every now and then an AI version of a hero will show up. They're a bit more hardcore. They've kind of got a lot of health. They do quite a lot of damage, and you need to beat them as well. Takes about 10 minutes if you finish the whole thing. You get a score. There's like a high score leaderboard. It's pretty fun. It's a horde mode. It's the first time they've done a PvE
It's a horde
thing.
mode in a completable sense rather than an infinite. It just goes on and on.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't
on,
just
and
become
then you want to
impossible.
kill yourself.
Yeah.
Sense. Okay, that's good.
And it's got some pretty cool stuff in it. Like they got the Reinhardt voice actor in to record a bunch more voice lines because the whole thing's set on his map, Eichenwald.
That's nice. That's effort. A bit of effort. We like this.
Yeah, it's higher effort than you would think if I just went, oh yeah, they added a PvE horde mode.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is kind of the theme, I would say, for Overwatch. Usually they put a bit more effort in to what are not wholly original ideas to kind of give them that extra bit of punch.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we made Halloween skins, but oh look, some of them are really well put together. Or we made a horde mode, but yeah, it's got all this story in it. It's not particularly serious, as you'd probably expect, and it's really over the top. But every time a Hanzo kills someone, there's a unique line for, oh, the Hanzo killed this character, and Reinhardt reads that out.
Right.
Or, oh, Anna killed this character, so the alchemist fried him from the inside or something. And it's all kind of over the top and Halloween-y and creepy, but it's well put together.
That's nice. And there are some more ongoing tangible gameplay changes as well in the Halloween patch. Tell us what's changed, what's been tweaked.
So this is the patch that was on the PTR that we talked about last week and the week before.
But it's finally now live.
It is now live. The two kind of big things are there were some balance changes. Junkrat and Widowmaker got buffed very slightly.
If you want to know about the Widowmaker buff in excruciating detail, please watch last week's show.
And check the Battle.net forums, because I'm fairly sure that discussion is still ongoing. And Anna got nerfed in one way, but then buffed very slightly in another way. They brought her ult down because, honestly, it was ridiculously powerful and used in like every competitive game.
And again, that's in last week's show. I joke, it was actually a very interesting discussion between yourself and Phil. So all of that is in last week's show. The rollout has been not entirely smooth. Is that fair? Like, there's a bit of a bugginess.
Yeah, there was a couple of bugs, and bugs you wouldn't really expect, I think. One of them was just like sometimes characters would use abilities. You wouldn't press the button and they'd just be like, I'm going to throw my grenade now.
Cheers.
And you'd be like, oh, thanks, Anna. I might have needed that in the next 10 seconds. But no, that wall seems like it needed spraying with biotic juice. So that happened. And initially people thought it was only happening on Anna, and then it became clear that it was happening on everybody. I don't think this is fixed at time of recording, but I would expect it is probably fixed by the time you're listening to this.
Wednesday morning for anyone who's listening after that. Obviously, all of you listening after that. But yes, it's Wednesday morning. It's not been fixed.
Yeah, as far as I know.
But it shouldn't be long, we think.
Yeah, they said they were developing a fix last night when after a couple of hours when people noticed what was going on. So,
yeah, and
so
it's been live, 15 hours or so now?
About that, yeah.
Okay. And obviously we are not that far from another lovely major holiday, which will be Christmas, and presumably we'll have an update then as well.
We think so, yeah. This is, again, community speculation, but if you're going to have a bunch of cosmetic skins...
Got to get the Santa hats out, haven't you?
Yeah,
really?
You've got to have Roadhog Santa, basically.
Yeah.
That's
going to be great.
It's going to be ace. He's going to
gonna
throw out a
look
candy
really
cane and drag you in.
Oh,
and then,
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
so
exciting.
if they don't do that, everyone's going to be very disappointed. It's possible, of course, that maybe there isn't enough time for them to develop like a full set of skins. So maybe they'll just be like, here is your Santa Roadhog.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe a brawl or something, rather than there being like a full kind of, oh, here's a comic and a bunch of skins and some victory poses and
That's
a unique
probably
set
fair.
of blah, blah, blah. So, but I would expect that's going to happen, and we'll hear about it more probably towards the end of November, and then it'll run from like December 10th through to the start of January maybe, or it could finish on like December 26th but start slightly earlier.
Be nice if they could give something away, season of giving and all, free something.
Nobody gets anything free.
No one gets
in this
anything
world.
free.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
No such thing as a free loot box.
So our weekly regular section now, where the is Sombra. Not here is the answer this week.
Still not here.
There was, I don't know, some hope perhaps that we'd get proper info or maybe even a release yesterday, but I suppose no one really thought that. But like more info would have been nice.
Yeah, there was probably as much kind of solid info as we've had in the last week. None of which came from Blizzard, or at least not deliberately.
That's kind of what I mean. When I say info, I mean official info rather than leaked info.
Yeah, so last week, a picture that is supposedly Sombra leaked. It ended up on Reddit. It got deleted a couple of times because the picture was like a phone camera shot of a screen, and this is, of course, where you start going, yeah, but why would anybody do that? So assuming it's real, which I would say there's about 75% chance of it, it got deleted because there was an internal link like on the image, so the guy had to take it, delete the internal link, like cover it up, re-upload it, and the Reddit admins are like, we really wish you weren't putting this on our subreddit, but okay, this'll do. And basically she looks like Laura from Street Fighter, only slightly older and in purple.
Obviously.
Which is great, and with an Uzi. So yeah, so there is an image that people think is Sombra out there. People have started making fan art and stuff already. So this is a character that's not even officially released now getting fan art, which I would hope is some sort of record.
We've hit some sort of nexus, some sort of fan art nexus.
When you've got 20 million players.
So yeah, like, as I say, there was some discussion that maybe she'd just sort of appear and be there yesterday, but that was never actually likely. Really,
yeah, because of the leak, people were like, "Oh, maybe she's going to come in the patch." That kind of
Yeah.
everybody knew that was going to happen yesterday and was going to be large. But that's not going to happen for a few reasons. Like one, and this is kind of a very kind of basic video games business thing. You space your stuff out. Particularly Blizzard, they've had real problems in the past of being like, here's loads of stuff, and then not having anything for like a year of World of Warcraft.
They've definitely learned that lesson, though, haven't they?
For
Like,
sure.
as a company, they are really good now at spacing stuff out and having regular things in all their games.
Yeah, so if you've got your massive Halloween patch, so let's assume for a second that Sombra is completely finished and she's good to go and she can be either put onto live servers or put onto the PvE. You're not going to put her out with your Halloween update.
No.
You're going to give it at least like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, also it just muddies the waters if you've got this new character and all this other stuff. It kind of one steals the limelight from the other, so it wouldn't make any sense.
Want to focus on different stuff, and from a purely mercenary point of view, like if you've got a new character and this huge Halloween update, the amount of attention you can get on the game from players, from press, from YouTubers, from influencers, from whoever, you can get that 2 times if you don't release them at the same time.
Also, we are 3 weeks out from BlizzCon, so it'd be utter madness to do anything like
they
that.
need something at
close
BlizzCon
before then. Exactly.
But that is an odd one because the count up on A Moment in Crime, which this morning was at around 90%. For our regular update.
Yeah.
That finishes, as far as people can tell, because it's going up at a regular rate on October 18th.
Right.
That's still a couple of weeks before BlizzCon.
Yeah, that's 6 days away.
Yeah, exactly. So we will probably talk about that next week.
Yeah, stay tuned.
So what exactly is going to happen there, we don't really know, because it would be kind of silly to not have BlizzCon as where you go, here is the Sombra trailer, and everyone on the show floor can go play her, and then she goes on the PvE like the next Tuesday, like 3 days after the show.
I reckon the count up will lead to
a countdown.
No, like the most sort of teasiest of teasers and it will then say find out more on whatever it is, 4th of November. And then
find out
then
more at BlizzCon.
Yeah, exactly. That would be my prediction.
So
I've seen this show too many times.
I think that the sensible thing for Sombra now is, in 6 days we'll get something like maybe like an official image, maybe that one that leaked, maybe not, maybe like. For Anna, they did like 2 trailers. They did like the gameplay trailer and the Origins trailer. Maybe we get the Origins, like the lore stuff.
I don't think we'll get that much. I really don't.
You think it'll just be like,
there's
a picture?
Yeah, I think it'll be like find out more at BlizzCon.
Yeah, with like a 2.5 second GIF or something.
Yeah, or a flash of ankle or something like that. I think it'll be a bit like that. I can't remember now when Anna came out. Like, was it No, before, was it July?
I think it was only July. It was July, August. Yeah, it was in that period.
So I think that was only like a couple of months after the game came out. So we're the gap's already bigger, right?
Yeah. I think obviously it's difficult to tell exactly how often they're going to be able to put out characters like this because they need to balance them and design them, and that's not an exact science. If it was, we'd have a lot more very, very, very good video games. But I expect they're going to aim for like 4 months.
Right.
3 a year, 4 a year, maybe. That's roughly how long League of Legends lasts.
Of the next probably like 6 is done, I reckon.
Kind of the ideas.
Yeah, I reckon they've got like the artwork and stuff finished for quite a few more. But then as you say, the balancing's like probably really difficult.
Yeah, and also they can go, let's do one with these 3 abilities and this ultimate, and then they find out that that's actually just not fun.
Yeah,
like, nobody has, and they're like, okay, so this is all just in the bin, like however much work was put into that, because they just realize, this doesn't, or like our engine can't support this at the moment, or something like that.
Basically, we're gonna have to Mission Impossible ourselves into wherever they design all this stuff just for you guys.
That's pretty much the plan.
Which we're willing to do. Maybe not today though. So, because the world is just this fair, just after we recorded last week's show, again, I say we, I wasn't a part of this, but just after you and Phil recorded last week's show, like almost immediately.
Like legitimately half an hour.
After we went live, there was a dev update with a fair whack of info in it, which would have been lovely to get in the show, but we're going to have to talk about it now instead. Who said what?
So it was kind of the standard dev update. Jeff Kaplan talks at the camera somehow for 15 minutes without stopping.
It's almost like a hostage video, isn't it?
They're very slightly creepy, along with being amazing that he can manage to just talk, and it doesn't look like it cuts at any stage. It doesn't look like he has any kind of lines anywhere.
Fairly
He's definitely not reading a script. Yeah, he may in fact be one of these Zomnics, and we're now killing off Jeff Kaplan in this week's Brawl, which...
The game's eaten itself. But yeah, he had some news to deliver, sort of, news as in stuff that will be news further down the line, I guess.
Yeah, so he talked about like a bunch of stuff that people kind of already knew. He talked about what was going on in the PTR, and a bunch of other stuff that you kind of know if you follow the show or if you read our site on a regular basis. But then he kind of spoke about what they've got in the pipes. And there are 2 heroes, a new game mode, and 6 maps that are all kind of at a point of designing where they think they could maybe come to fruition at some stage. At least that's how he put it. So obviously one of those heroes you can probably guess the name of.
Yeah.
That'll be Sombra. He said that was coming sooner rather than later, and didn't have much else to say, and I'm fairly sure the entire community went through it frame by frame to see if he blinked in Morse code or anything to let us know.
Yeah.
He did not, as far as we know. And then there's a second hero that they're still using like placeholder animations. The way they do this is they'll take one of the heroes they already have in the game and just give them the abilities of the new hero.
Right.
Like, with kind of very vague numbers, and some sort of animation work done to make it clear that they're not the other version of that hero. Mm-hmm. So, I think Widowmaker was the base for Anna when she was in testing.
Well, that would make sense.
Obviously, right? So they're doing that with another character. They say they're happy with the core design, but it's still at like pure prototyping stage. So that's probably whoever, assuming, development continues on that and they don't discover there's some problems with it, that's probably whoever we will get after Sombra in like March next year, February next year kind of time.
Be interesting to know who that placeholder character is then, because you could then sort of extrapolate what like abilities or something about.
The bet would be that
next.
It's probably a tank, just because there was like not enough supports in the game originally. They added Anna.
Yeah.
Then after that, there's less tanks than there are offense or defense. Mm-hmm. So it might be a tank, but I think they're not at a point where they where the numbers of those really matter to them, because some of those characters are so different from each other anyway. Like offense doesn't just mean you are the ones that deal damage. Some of the tanks are really good at dealing damage. They just kind of have to do something first, and also they're good at taking in shots and protecting their team. So I think they're not worrying so much about that. But I can imagine it's a hero that might fit into the space in the game that tanks operate, because that is obviously where there is less stuff currently, right? Beyond that, he spoke about one new map that they're actually putting art into, and once they're putting art into a map, that pretty much means it's good to go, and it's not going to get cancelled.
I've never made a map, so this comes from a place of ignorance, but that's one of only about 2 steps in making a map, surely. One is design the space, the other is put the art in.
Yeah, so you need to finish the first one before you want to start doing the second one when you're paying an art department.
Of course. But it's not like there's like 100 steps and it's like, oh, we're at this one. It's like you're at the other step, isn't it? Space,
you could break it down into 2, yeah, for sure. I expect that the artists might disagree that art is one step.
Yeah, of course.
And the level designers might perhaps think that it's not quite as simple as going, here is some space. But yeah, they're at the second stage, but it doesn't get to the second stage unless they're happy with the grey box phase, as it's called, which is where you go, here's how it will look literally, but it's all just like a grey box.
I remember playing Driver San Francisco when it was at that stage.
They let you play at that stage. That's fairly impressive. It was
really weird. It was just dry. The car had like art done, but it was just the streets were just like grey
masses,
like shapes, and that was it. And I don't really know what you're supposed to make of a game at that stage. There's only so much you can say about it.
That's why we don't usually get to see them.
Yeah, it was a sort of really weird look at how the sausage is made. But yeah, so one map that close and more less close.
Yeah, pretty much. And so there's another map where they're like, that they're grey boxing, and then there's 4 maps for a new game mode, all of which is currently kind of in design testing. There's always been a request for more game modes. There's some very obvious ones that are missing. One would assume that they have tried those, like Capture the Flag. And basically, with the problem with something like Capture the Flag is just play Tracer. She can teleport.
There you go, flag captured, game over.
Yeah. So, but there are, I think, a weakness of Overwatch. Like, if you were going to pick something about it that it's missing, it is probably game modes.
Yeah, for sure.
It does only have kind of 4, and one of those is 2 of the others put together. So,
yeah,
so we don't really know what that game mode is. I doubt we're going to see it for a while, unless they suddenly kind of, in the next 3 weeks go, oh, this really, really works, and they can quickly kind of put some art in and maybe show something off at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
But again, like we were talking about earlier, you'd be better to space that stuff out. So if they've got Sombra for BlizzCon along with this other map that they're talking about,
and I think
can just hold it.
I think given how much stuff there's going to be to talk about with the other Blizzard games at BlizzCon, I think going that hard with so much Overwatch stuff is unlikely, although possible, of course, but I wouldn't put money on it.
It all kind of depends. I think at some point we'll probably have an Overwatch This show where we break down what we think is going to be at BlizzCon for everything, because it is all relevant to how much Overwatch stuff we'll see. And it kind of depends exactly how much stuff they have on, Diablo and World of Warcraft.
Yeah. How
much they can focus on Overwatch and how much time they can give it. They've got 2 days worth of panels. Overwatch could have 1 panel, it could have 5 panels. It just depends how much stuff they want to show off about it.
So as you say, we'll be able to speculate more once the schedule comes out, and obviously Mr. Ben will be on the ground reporting from the show, so we will have plenty of live content and fun stuff coming out the week.
Content, Joel.
I've said content. I have to go and jump off a bridge now, but whatevs. Videos and words throughout the week. So do stay tuned, and we'll have stuff on the channel as well. Right, that's it for this week. Join us next week when the Sombra countdown should have finished, and we will have plenty more in the world of Overwatch to discuss. Hit subscribe, give us a like, and drop your thoughts in the comments.